Great catching up with my next guest, and he's got a big fight coming up here yet again, taking on Bryce Mitchell at UFC Fight Night, September 23rd. It is Dan Ige, Dynamite Dan, back here on the program. Dan, how are you?
Hey, I'm pretty good, James, man. Long time no talk. I mean, we talked at Media Day back in June in Vancouver, but yeah, it feels good to be talking to you again and getting ready for another fight. Can't wait.
Absolutely. Well, not to be a bit of a downer here, but we got to talk about this right off the top just because of everything that's going on in Hawaii with the fires and everything. You were one of the first people I thought of. I'm sure there's a lot of people affected. I know you sort of told me before we set up this interview, I know your wife's over there. How's everything going on that front? Everyone okay?
Yeah, so, my friends and family, most of everyone were from Oahu and, the big fires on Maui. It's super tragic what's going on. I have a lot of friends there that are suffering from this tragedy. And, I hate to say it, but the good thing about this is just to see the community, all the local people come together to help each other. There's tons of amazing fundraisers out there that people just causing and raising awareness for what's going on and doing a fundraiser. Like I've seen millions and millions of dollars raised, which is amazing because sometimes you just can't sit and wait and rely on the government to do anything. So to see the local people come together and bring, come together in this type of moment, it's great to see. But at the same time, it's just super sad. It's tragic. People lost their loved ones, people lost their homes, people lost almost everything. And I just hope that, that the local people won't be affected from this, that they'll be able to retain their lands, and hopefully we can just do anything and everything we can to just keep spreading the word and bringing some type of positivity out of this.
Well, you mentioned it there. The good news is, luckily, your family not affected by this directly, but it's got to be weighing on your mind. I know you're a proud Hawaiian. I know a lot of you are very close in the MMA community, especially. There's a lot of Hawaiian fighters. Is that kind of, are you thinking about that a little bit during this fight camp, like just everything that's going on?
Yes, because honestly, last week, Tuesday, I was like, it was like Tuesday or Wednesday, I was driving to the gym and I just felt guilty. I was like, man, I get to just go on and live my life, wake up, have my coffee, go train, do what I love to do. And while I have friends and family that are at home suffering. So, that day I did an interview with this guy, Eric McNeil. He has a big Instagram following and big social media following. He has a podcast. And I was already scheduled to do a podcast with him. So we actually we changed it around and we did part of the podcast, but then we went live and I brought in Alima, from Hawaii, and we all three went live on Instagram just to, spread this awareness and use our platforms for good to, see how other people can help and get involved. And, the big part of this here is just like helping the families directly, because they have so many pages now where they have a list of every single family that was impacted, and you can now just go and donate to those families directly, not rather than having to donate to a specific charity and then wait for the funds to get dispersed, because these people need help now. So yes, the people of Maui are in my home, in my islands, are always on my heart. I represent Hawaii proudly, and they'll be, I'll be carrying them on my back as I go through this training camp and prepare for another war.
Let's talk about this fight. I feel like the last time we probably did an interview outside of UFC 289, this was a fight that had been discussed. It's been kind of going on for years, dating back to, I know there's some Twitter talk about like who could submit who and all that. Are you happy to finally get it? Just after all these years, because it seemed like it was inevitable it was going to happen.
Yeah, it's one of those fights that's been kind of brewing for 5, 6, 7 years. When I first moved to Vegas and I was living on Brad Tavares' couch, I remember watching Bryce Mitchell in World Series of Fighting, and he was getting a ton of hype and a ton of praise, and I was just a young fighter that had nothing, so I wanted that. I wanted to fight in these big shows. I wanted to fight, these top high-level guys and work my way up the ladder. And when he got into the UFC, he already had like a bit of hype coming off The Ultimate Fighter, and he's a very charismatic guy, so a lot of people like him. And I remember tweeting him something like, I don't even remember, but I'm pretty sure he holds some type of resentment or a grudge towards me because he's mentioned my name in a rap song, dissing me, and he's blocked me on Instagram. But at the end of the day, we're gonna fight. We're gonna get in there and we're gonna settle it. And it's just one of those fights that's been a long time coming, but it's about to happen.
What about the negotiations? Because I saw on Twitter you had mentioned you wanted to fight. You named some opponents. I think he responded. His manager chimed in as well. You manage yourself, so I'm sure you're going directly to the UFC. Like, tell me how that came together as far as the negotiations.
Yeah, negotiation wise, for me, I look at the entire division as a whole. I look at who's fighting who. There's a lot of guys that are injured, and I don't want to like sit and wait. I know a lot of guys want to sit and wait for the perfect fight, the perfect ranked position guy. And Bryce was available, Edson Barboza was available at the time. So those were like kind of two guys. Alex Caceres, before he got booked with Giga, was one of them. So I was kind of looking at those three guys. Even though I had fought Edson, it was a close fight. So I was like, I wouldn't mind taking that fight again. It's still a big fight. It's a big name, but it just seems like they had to get one fight booked and then everything else got booked. So they just came at me with Bryce. When I was talking to the UFC, I just basically gave them three names and I let them know that, hey, Bryce's manager tweeted me, said that he's available. Edson's manager tweeted me, said he's available. So if it's any of these guys or Caceres, I'm ready. Here's my time frame of when I want to fight. And then they just came back at me with Bryce Mitchell September 23rd. So I immediately replied yes. I had already talked to my coaches because we kind of game plan ahead of our timelines and opponents. And it was just a easy, simple answer of yes.
What did you make of his performance against Ilia Topuria, which was his last fight? He had the scheduled fight with Jonathan Pierce, and then obviously that fell apart with the injury and everything. So that's kind of the last thing we can kind of reference. What did you make of his performance in that fight?
I mean, it was a bad performance on his behalf, and I can't, you can't take anything away from him. I'm not going to judge him off one fight. I don't want to take anything away from Ilia Topuria either because he did a great job and it looks like he exposed them there. But I believe he had a bad night. And, I'm sure he's going to be looking to redeem himself. It's hard to say, though, because, he gave up. He gave up in that fight. He quit in that fight. I know he came out after and said he had the flu or whatever. But at the end of the day, he came after the fight. He made an excuse, and you win or you lose. You win some, you lose some. You could show up, you could be your absolute best, you could still lose. You could do everything right, you could still lose. So just the fact that he came out and he made an excuse after just shows that, I don't know, I've never made any excuse after any of my fights. I've taken my losses like a man. I've taken close losses, which, I could have went out and argued, no, I won that fight. At the end of the day, I didn't win the fight. I've taken losses where I got beat up. When I fought Movsar Evlov, it wasn't my best day, but I got beat up, but I stayed in there. I didn't make an excuse after. It just got up and kept getting better. And, I'm sure he's going to come at me. He's going to want to redeem himself, but once a quitter, you're always a quitter.
Okay. Training camp at one of the best gyms in the world at Extreme Couture. Who've been some of the main guys helping you get ready for this fight?
I've had I have a ton of good guys in the gym right now. I've been working a lot with Lance Palmer because he's got a fight coming up in September, and where's
he fighting? Where is he with PFL still, or where's he training?
He's fighting in Russia.
Oh, no way. Okay, I didn't know he was still fighting. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's in some Russian It's like a tournament style, but I've been utilizing Lance a lot just for his wrestling. He's so good. And he's crazy strong. I've never faced anyone at 145 that's as strong as him. So just to feel that daily and go with him, even though he's slightly different than Bryce, he is a southpaw. He's shorter, but his wrestling is just top notch. So I've been getting a lot of rounds with him. I've been working a lot with some jiu-jitsu guys, Hanato, Kanuto. He's been coming in and helping us. And so basically Lance, Kanan's one of those guys. Natan Levy, another good big southpaw, tricky with his kicks. Jordan Levitt, another guy is just awkward, but wants to always take the fight to the ground, has great jiu-jitsu. I have a ton of guys, a ton of bodies at Extreme that I could just, pick and choose to help me, give me the best look for my fight coming up. So I always, I'm specific, but at the same time, I don't get too specific because anything can happen. Bryce, fights could change. I always just focus on preparing myself to get in the best shape as possible.
What about your corner? Who will be in the cage with you that night?
Right now, Eric Nixick, he's my staple. He's my head guy. I Chase Pammy, he's my wrestling coach. I've been working with him for these past 3 fights. Very good, articulate, and detailed. And right now, I'm just trying to see if my brother Skyler could come out. His mom's getting just had heart surgery, so we're just kind of waiting and seeing if he's going to be able to come out. If not, I have a ton of great coaches at Extreme that can replace that.
How's this fight playing out on September 23rd? How do you see it going down?
Um, I hate making predictions. I always show up. I always come prepared to fight 3 hard rounds. I if I can go in there and stay composed, I believe I can put Bryce away. But at the same time, I'm just prepared to go 3 hard rounds and win a decision if I have to. But I'm going to be looking to finish him at all times. I don't like winning fights by points. I wanted to finish Nate Landwehr, but the guy's so tough.
Mhm.
So I will be looking to finish Bryce. I'm going to be picking my shots and, look to land a good one or choke him out. He shoots in. I got good jiu-jitsu too.
Do you want to get one more fight in this year? Is that kind of the plan? The nice thing with you is you live in Vegas, right? So they're always doing cards. I guess if you wanted to get one more fight in, you'd be good to go, right?
So we're having our second baby in February. So
Oh, awesome. Congrats.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. My plan is to fight 2 times. You never know what happens after a fight, and
Yeah.
it's very hard for me to like mentally even think past this fight already. But I do have a goal to fight twice before the babies do. So if that's fight in September and one more at the end of the year or early next year, that would be ideal. But right now I'm just focused on this one.
Do you know the gender yet?
No, not yet. We're gonna find out when she gets back from Hawaii. She's back home helping her mom. So yeah, should
Are
be
you
fun.
excited? Do you have a preference? Because I'll be honest, like I'll tell you this. So my wife and I, we have two kids. We wanted a girl, we got a boy, but the boy's been so different than his older brother, and it's been awesome. So do you guys have a
Yeah.
preference?
I mean, we want a girl, just that boy girl, but
Uh-huh.
like you said, they could be so different and drastic, and I don't know. I just feel like He gives us what we need.
Yeah.
And so we're just praying for a healthy baby, and whatever he gives us is what we get.
How's your little guy doing?
He's good, man. He's got a ton of energy. He's hard, but
Yeah.
he's fun. He's like that 2.5 stage. So he's getting better at his talking, and just like his motor skills are crazy. He's got a ton of energy and wants to do things, and he's in gymnastics right now, just having fun with that. And he loves riding his bike. He's all into like motorcycles and watching them on TV. I don't know if I'll get him into that just yet, but I just want to, give him little outlets to try. And if he likes it and wants to pick it up, then I'll, of course, encourage him and let him do his thing. But it's fun, man.
How,
Fatherhood's been great.
how did you get your little guy to ride a bike? Because mine, like my son, believe it or not, this is how long we've been doing interviews, Dan. My son's going to be 6 this year, believe it or not. But he didn't know how to ride a bike, and we put him in like a bike camp, and by the second day he could ride a bike. It was crazy. So
Wow. Well, for Bam, we didn't do training wheels. We got one of those Strider bikes. It's like
yep,
it's a balance bike basically
yeah, yeah.
with no pedals. So he just uses his feet, but he's just getting his confidence. So he'll go and then he'll pick his feet up and balance and go pick his feet up and balance. We took him on the golf. I live on a golf course, so we went there after they were done playing, and there was like a little grass hill, but he charged down the hill and put his feet up. I put it on my Instagram. It's pretty funny.
Okay.
But yeah, man, he's just kind of learning on his own. I just kind of help him and assist him, but I let him do his thing, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Do you golf at all? You mentioned living close to a course.
No, I live literally on a really nice golf course, but I don't golf. I just don't have time. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe
no, it's
down the
tough.
road.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
now living on a course, do you get like discounts or no?
I think I may get some type of like, community discount, but I've been there since 2019, and I haven't golfed once.
There you go. Okay, I like the honesty there. And just a couple more quick ones. A win over Bryce, obviously pretty popular guy. We saw what Topuria getting the win over Bryce did for him. Does that kind of put you back in that contender spot, in your opinion, do you think? Just because Bryce is one of those guys, it seems like you get a win over him, it means a lot in the division.
I don't necessarily, it puts me back as a contender, but I think it earns me, like another big fight. Again, it's hard to speculate who's who in the division, where everyone is, but you can look at guys like that don't have fights, like a guy like Arnold Allen or Brian Ortega, kind of two guys that are up there in the top, but they don't have a fight. Who knows? They may end up fighting, or these other guys get matched up. So I'm just kind of playing it by ear, and you never know, man. Just kind of wait and see what happens. But definitely, I want to get this win, and then we could start looking at bigger fights.
Do you think if you haven't fought in like a year, do you think you should be taken out of the rankings and then maybe they just remember where you were? Because I feel like it kind of clogs up the division. Just because you mentioned Ortega, there's a lot of people who are upset that he's still ranked where he is, or someone like yourself or some of the other featherweights have been pretty active.
I mean, for a while, the division was very held up, like, because literally everyone was injured.
Yeah.
And like no one was getting, like, the division wasn't moving. There was a bunch of guys like that aren't ranked that are fighting and staying active and being consistent. That's why I fought like the last two guys that I fought, because I was like, hey, I just want to be active. I fought some of the best guys, I've fallen short, but I need to kind of rebuild my name and my brand. So there was guys that are coming up the ladder. Jackson was on like a 4-fight win streak. So I was like, he's a name, he's a worthy opponent. I fought him. Nate Landwehr was another guy, 3-4-fight win streak that was earned his shot into the top 15. So like I was fighting those guys, but now the division's kind of moving again. And as far as guys getting taken out of the rankings, I think there should be some sort of like cap. I don't know what's like an ideal like time. A year is like kind of just cutting it, because for instance, I fought once in 2022. It wasn't my choice. I wanted to fight again, but and I was healthy. So, but again, if you're injured and you're on the sidelines, like, yeah, I think it should keep moving, because guys got to fight.
And you got a couple fights left in your contract, I imagine?
Yeah, Nate was my first fight on
the new one.
deal.
Okay,
So
cool.
yeah,
That's
I did
great.
a 4-fight. Yeah.
Last question, kind of looking back now. How was Vancouver? How did my hometown treat you, other than you getting the win, obviously?
It was super nice, man. I got there on like Monday or Tuesday, and it was like perfect weather, sunny, right on the water, and that was just coming from Vegas. It was such a breath of like fresh air, and
literally, yeah, because it's not the desert heat there either. You're getting the ocean breeze, right?
Yeah,
Nice.
so every day I just went for a walk. Walked up to like Stanley Park, walked back to my hotel, and was just breathing and taking in the air. And then like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it got kind of muggy and rainy. And but I loved it, man. The fans there were so genuine and nice. Like literally every single place I went, I was recognized, and I was like probably the most recognized I've been in any city, like in America or anywhere, even when I go home. So that was nice, like just feeling the love from the fans there.
Dan, thanks so much for doing this. We went over time. If there's anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, any social media you want to plug, I'll give you the last word.
All good. No, thank you. Thank you everyone for your support. You guys check me out on my YouTube, my Instagram, my Twitter. Everything's the same. Dynamite Dan 808. I'm dropping content every day. You can follow me on the lead up to my fight. Support me. I appreciate you guys. I'll be dropping some new merch pretty soon, so stay tuned.